The Last Mughal by William. On a hazy November afternoon in Rangoon, 1862, a shrouded corpse was escorted by a small group of British soldiers to an anonymous grave in a prison enclosure. As the British commissioner in charge insisted, no vestige will remain to distinguish where the last of the great Mughals rests. After the death of Emperor Aurangzeb in 1707, the Mughal dynasty fell into disarray. Most of the Muslim population continued to show obedience to the emperor in Delhi, but the Marathas and the Sikhs and the British of the East India Company took the opportunity to increase their power. In this, the British proved the most successful. The author makes it clear that the empire had lost its luster and the Zafar was emperor in name only. Zafar's importance was confirmed when the British interfered in the problem of succession. Zafar's favorite wife was Zinat Mahal. She wished her only son, Mirza Jawan Bakht, the 15th son of Zafar, to ascend the throne after her husband died. Never much interested in his kingly duties and obligations, and certainly not a rebel by nature, he turned for solace to his usual pastimes, poetry, music, and the arts. Zafar did not sentence to death due to the fear of political upheaval. He was transported to Burma along with his wife Zinat, his younger son Mirza Jawan Bakht, and various other relatives who followed him into exile. Zafar should be put down because, having a Hindu mother, he appealed to both sides of India's own great religious division. The real villains of the last Mughal are narrow-minded British military and civil administrators. Zafar was literate and charming, but he was out of touch with all but the elite of his people. The Red Fort, where Bahadur Shah Zafar, who was captured during the 1857 mutiny, marked the end of a line of rulers who had lorded over northern India for 3 centuries. Zafar was one of the history's great losers, an indecisive man who had come to the throne in his 60s. On May 11, 1857, mutinous soldiers appeared in Delhi and killed every European who had the bad luck to be in the way. The fighting ended the following September with the English victorious and Zafar a prisoner. The war's aftermath was an exercise in arrogance. English troops plundered the city, arresting and torturing those who excited their suspicions and shooting out of hands those who excited their fury. Author looked deep in the National Archives of India. Some 20,000 personal Persian and Urdu papers written by Delhi residents who survived the uprising. Why had historians not used these papers before? The author explains what really happened does not fit any fashionable academic dogmas. 1857, the uprising was not one unified movement but many, with widely different causes, motives, and natures. There were two reasons: the rise of British power with its undisguised imperial arrogance and the specific imperial agenda of the evangelicals and utilitarians. May 11 was fateful. The Sepoys killed several important figures in Delhi, including the Reverend Jennings. British converts to Islam were spared, while all Hindu and Muslim converts to Christianity were cut down, including 23 members of the extended family of Thomas Collins. The lower classes were quick to join the Sepoys, but the Hindus and the Muslim elite keep their distance. Muhyiddin Hussain Khan, the police chief of a nearby village, begged Zafar to stop the massacre, but the emperor wavered and finally supported the Sepoys, thereby changing the whole nature of the rebellion. Once the Sepoys dominated the city, Delhi became the setting for all kinds of grievances to be settled by violence, and the ordinary citizens suffered the most in the looting and chaos. The royal house was divided in its sympathies with five young princes supported the rebels. One of them, Mirza Mughal, was ambitious and capable, and many have conspired with the sepoys before their attack. Zinat Mahal opposed the rebellion because she feared it would hurt the chance of her only son Jawan Bakht to inherit the throne. When secret correspondence with the British surfaced on May 16, the sepoys slaughtered 52 prisoners. It soon became clear that the rebels had no discipline, and one of the most disturbing developments occurred on May 19 when a conservative mullah tried to turn the uprising into an exclusively Muslim holy war. On June 8, Hodgson led the British into battle against a large rebel force on the Grand Trunk Road, and after bitter fighting captured the sepoys' field guns, leaving their infantry vulnerable. On July 1st, a huge rebel force arrived under the command of General Bakht Khan and his Wahhabi spiritual mentor Maulvi Sarfraz Ali. Bakht Khan's daily assaults exhausted the British. The author says, "This of the whole bloody contest, it was all in all a very odd sort of religious war, where a Muslim emperor was pushed into a rebellion against his Christian oppressors by a mutinous army of overwhelming Hindu sepoys." In his lifetime, Zafar lived to see his own dynasty finally reduced to humiliating insignificance, while the British transformed themselves from relatively vulnerable traders into aggressively expansionist military force. From the Indian participants' point of view, the uprising was overwhelmingly expressed as a war of religion and looked upon as a defense action against the rapid inroads missionaries and Christianity were making in India. Indian soldiers rose up against their British officers in the northern city of Meerut. On 10th May, the rebellion spread to Delhi, Agra, Lucknow and Kanpur. Resentment had grown over attempts to impose new reforms, laws, Western values and Christianity. The revolt united thousands of Hindus and Muslim troops who chose then Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar as their nominal head. British generals deployed Sikh soldiers from Punjab and Pathans from the northwest frontier province. Delhi was recaptured by September. Both sides were accused of indiscriminate killings. The rebels killed British women and children. The British were blamed for mass executions of thousands of mutineers and their supporters. The rebellion officially ended by July 1858. There were many reasons why the uprising failed. Zafar himself held an equivocal position. He tried to assume leadership of it up to a point, seeing it as an opportunity to restore Mughal greatness, but at the same time he was repelled by the degradations and killing of obviously innocent European people being perpetrated by his subjects in his beloved Delhi. The Indians' strategy and tactics were poor, with a lack of coordination between sepoy regiments and failure to grasp the importance of a potential attack on besieging British near on the ridge outside Delhi. The British had much superior sources of intelligence and also the supports of the Sikh due to their historic enmity with Hindus, despite the Sikhs' much more recent wars with Britain.